I send my warmest greetings to everybody. I wish people are coping and managing yourselves very well. Today, we are introducing ourselves to the concept of environment. And I keep telling you, environment is not new concept to all of you. At least we have treated environment from our SHS level up to this day. And so we are not new, or environment is not new to us. Somebody may then ask, what is environment? Environment is made up of the whole set of natural or physical and man-made or sociocultural systems in which man and other living things live, work, and interact. So your immediate environment, the things around you, can be your environment. The human beings around you can be your environment. The natural environment, such as the animals, the trees around you, can also be your environment. So in other words, it is the immediate social and physical surroundings. And this consists of both living and non-living things. So your environment will definitely consist of the immediate social and physical surroundings. When you say social is the people or are the people around you. That's what we call the social environment. And the physical environment are the natural things around you, the animals, the trees, among several other things. The living things form the biotic, and the non-living things are the abiotic environment. The word bio simply means life. And so when you talk about living things, we say they form the biotic environment, and the non-living things form the abiotic environment. At this point, I'll pause for you to ponder over examples of living things that we have and the non-living things that we have. We must also understand that there is some kind of relationship between these living things and the non-living things, or sometimes there is relationship between organisms of the same species and organisms of different species. And the relationship between individual organisms of the same species is called intraspecific effect. We all know that the word intra always connotes within, and the relationship between organisms of different species is known as interspecific effect. So for example, the relationship between you human being and your colleague human being can be an example of intraspecific effect. But the relationship between you and the plants or the trees around you can be interspecific effect. The environment could be as large as the biosphere or as small as an ecosystem, or even your immediate environment. For example, the school's environment. When you are on St. Monica's College of Education, when you are on our campus, and we call St. Monica's people or the people within the St. Monica's environment, you will be part of those who will come or appear, simply because you are part of the St. Monica's environment. So the environment can be small as your house, can be small as your room where you sleep, can be large as the town that you live, or can be as larger as the world. Types of environment. There are two main types of environment. We must understand that some authorities categorize types of environment into three. But in this case, we are going to look at two main types of environment, and we are going to subsume the cultural environment into the social environment. So we are saying that we have two main types of environment, i.e. social environment and physical environment. What is therefore social environment? Social environment consists of the people around us, organizations, and regulation within the society. In other words, it consists of the interaction that exists between humankind. So between you and your sister, between you and your mother, between you and your husband, between you and your wife and your niece and your cousin, all form part of the social environment. The language that you speak, the culture that you believe in are all part of the social environment. The social institutions such as schools, such as the church, are all part of the social environment. So for example, in this sense, when we call Anglican church members and you are an Anglican, you will be there. And that is part of your social environment. So like I've said earlier on, examples include marriage, institution, school, church, tradition, customs. So in your second year, you'll be reading a course called Social Environment, where you read into details the concept of marriage, tradition, church, customs, schools, among several others. So when you talk about social environment, we are referring to all social institutions. The relationship between you and the environment are all part of your social environment. Now, wherever that you find yourself, your social environment will be the people around you, will be the institutions that you find yourself in. All those things, the food that you eat, are all part of the social environment. So we sometimes call it the socio-cultural environment. Then we have the physical environment. The physical environment sometimes can be called the natural environment because they are the things that are provided by nature, which include the physical conditions of life. So anything provided by God, or if you like, the supernatural being, that is called, or that is part of the physical environment. I want you to ponder over examples of this social environment. The examples of this physical environment. Bear in mind that the physical environment consists of both living and non-living organisms. And the living organisms, like I have said earlier, form the biotic environment, and the non-living things form the abiotic environment. Examples of physical environment include land, air, water, plants, and animals. All these are physical environment. Physical because they are provided by God or the supernatural being, and so they are all part of our physical environment. Now, we will delve deeply into the concept of the natural environment, or if you like, the biosphere. What is the biosphere? Always bear in mind that the word bio is life. And so when you hear biology, the study of life, biotic, life, or the life environment. So we are looking at the biosphere. What is biosphere? Biosphere is that part of the earth that supports life. Living organisms, being plants and animals, are found in this biosphere. The biosphere is made up of living and non-living elements. Bear in mind. So for example, we have the plants and animals, and the non-living elements including chemicals and geographical factors such as water, rocks, minerals, and soils. Don't forget, these are non-living organisms. And temperature, weather are all parts of the physical environment. And all these things, the rocks, the minerals, the soils, water, are part of the abiotic environment, whereas plants, animals form part of the biotic environment. So bear in mind, if the animal live or the plant is found in water because there is life in it, it is part of the biotic environment. But when the thing has no life in it, like a rock, like a mountain, like a mineral, like a soil, because there is no life in it, it is part of the abiotic environment. Now, the interaction, we have to understand that The interaction within the biotic and the abiotic component is where the ecologists try to understand and explain. So ecologists study or learn the relationship between the biotic and the abiotic environment. The relationship between you, the human being, and the water body or the water bodies is what the ecologist is interested in. The relationship between you and the vegetation around you is what the ecologist is interested in. And so they try to understand and explain. Now let us look at the components of the biosphere. Understand that generally we have three main components of the biosphere. One, we have the lithosphere. Lithosphere. What is lithosphere? It is the land part of the earth. In other words, it is the solid part of the earth where you and I walk, where we build our houses, where we grow our plants for farming purposes. All these form part of the lithosphere. And we have to understand that there are conditions on the surface for the survival of plants and animals. So the lithosphere are where plants and animals live generally. So understand the lithosphere to be the solid part of the earth. Then we come to the second component of the biosphere, and that is the hydrosphere. The word hydro, as we know, simply means water. So in this case, the hydrosphere is the water part of the earth. The hydrosphere is the water part of the earth. So all the water components of the earth are part of the hydrosphere. Don't forget we have looked at the lithosphere. Now we are looking at the hydrosphere. And we have to understand that the hydrosphere consists of water bodies on the earth's surface, namely the ocean, the sea, the rivers, the lakes, and the streams are all part of the hydrosphere. My students understand that I am saying the word hydro means water. And so the hydrosphere encapsulates all the water bodies on the earth's surface. Then we have the atmosphere. The atmosphere, in our basic understanding, is the gaseous envelope of the earth. In other words, the gases that surround the earth. They form the atmosphere. Understand that it is made of gases which can support life and the vice versa. So understand these things. The atmosphere is the gaseous envelope around the earth. In this case, I am trying to summarize it that we have three components of the biosphere: the lithosphere, the hydrosphere, and the atmosphere. The lithosphere being the solid part of the earth, the hydrosphere being the water part of the earth, then the atmosphere being the gases. So you lift up your eye into the space, you see some clouds. Understand that the clouds is an accumulation of some gases, and that is what we call the atmosphere. The biosphere, or the limits of the ozone layer, understand that the ozone layer is found in the atmosphere, and the limit of the ozone layer extends from the ocean depth through to the lower atmosphere. Now let us look at the importance of the biosphere, or the natural environment. Understand that the atmosphere, being part of the biosphere, is the source of the climatic conditions needed on the earth for the survival of living organisms. We all need rainfall to live. We all need sunshine to live. We all need some kind of temperature, being low or high, to live. And we get all these factors within the atmosphere, or these elements within the atmosphere. And the atmosphere being part of the biosphere, we cannot discount that. So one importance of the biosphere is that the atmosphere serves as the source of climatic conditions needed on Earth for survival. Again, the atmosphere contains gas elements of the Earth. Among the gases are oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, which are essential for human, animal, and plant life. You and I, as human beings, need oxygen to live. Plants, from our basic science, need carbon dioxide to live. And there are other several gases that human beings and other living organisms need to live. And so one of the importance is that it also provides us the gases or the gas element for our survival. And we get all these things in the atmosphere. The water bodies, including sea, ocean, rivers, lakes, and ponds, are home for aquatic animals and plants needed by man as food. All of us need water to live. You may decide not to eat, but deciding not to drink may be chaos. We need water for our domestic and industrial purposes, and we get all these things through the natural environment or the biosphere. We also get aquatic animals, including fishes, crabs, lobsters, hippopotamus, among several others, from water bodies. And all these things help us in our survival. The lithosphere, that is the solid part of the earth. The earth crust, that is the lithosphere, provides the soils in which plants, including food crops, grow. For example, maize, cassava, millet, and all the food that you and I eat to survive or to live are all gotten from the lithosphere. Plants are needed also as medicine to cure diseases, and mostly we get all these plants from the solid parts of the earth. Vegetation of all kinds are also found on the earth's surface, whether forest, grass, and what have you. We get it from the earth's surface, and this provides several benefits to human beings, being medication, being food, among several others. We should not forget that grass, for example, is food for cattle. Wood is for building houses and ships. It is also used to make furniture, all for our good. Therefore, when we try to degrade the environment in any way, it means we are doing it at our own peril. This leads us to the concept environmental degradation or environmental hazard. What is environmental degradation? It is a gradual process by which the natural state and quality of the environment is destroyed. You may not be young or you may not be old, but probably you have observed these things, that an environment that you once saw some kind of forest or plant or trees, now the place is turning into a grass, and you ask yourself why. If you are from one way or the other a farming community, a land that was able to use to grow a particular crop is right now unable to grow the same crop simply because it has been tempered one way or the other. So when the gradual process by which the natural state and quality of the environment is destroyed, it can be classified as environmental degradation. And this occurs through the activities of man, through resource extraction and utilization. All of us are gambling or grappling for one way or the other, a resource one way or the other, being gold, being diamond, and other several resources, sand, rocks, and all that. And in our process of extracting these natural resources and utilizing them, we end up degrading the environment. If you don't know anything at all, you may even ponder over the catch problem in our country called galamsey. What galamsey has done to our environment. Rivers that used to be a source of drinking water to many are now polluted, of which you cannot drink anymore. Lands that were used for farming purposes have now been tampered with, and they cannot be used for the agricultural purposes again. The implication is that the environment has been degraded. The quality of it has been reduced or destroyed. The natural state has been destroyed. And so let's understand that environmental degradation in this sense may take so many forms, such as pollution, soil erosion, leaching, and general loss of soil fertility, desertification, drought, among several others. Now, this brings us to the end of our lecture for today. Thank you very much.